Greetings. I wanted to just show you really quick on my lunch break today. So I worked this morning at a cafe, and then on my lunch break, I ran over to the yarn store because I'm going to insert this picture here. But I was watching Grimm, and one of my favorite characters, Rosalie. Her and this other character, Monroe, are always wearing these like wonderful cozy sweaters, and I saw her wearing this sweater, and I was like, well, I immediately Googled it and found it. It's from Free People, and I'm not gonna like try to buy it or anything. I wanted to see if I could try to crochet a version of it. Now, mind you, I've only been crocheting for like not even like a little over a month, okay? But I wanted to show you the yarn that I have. First, I have this. This is my inspiration. Okay, look how beautiful and multicolored this yarn is. It's gorgeous. It's vibrant. It's bright. It has all the beautiful colors that I've been really into lately. So yeah, this is my inspiration, and this was like 32 bucks, so I only got one of these. The rest of these were a lot cheaper. But I kind of, using this as inspiration, I got, some colors that I'm just pulling out of that thread. So hold on, I have to see how many I can hold. So keeping in mind this. And I have this, yellow, like a turquoisey kind of color. And then, oh wow, I didn't even realize this actually matches the sweater I'm wearing now. Yeah, so these are the colors that I've got. So I'm really excited to try to crochet something with this. I can't believe I bought 7 skeins of yarn. Skeins? I think it's skeins. And I actually really hate skeins because I know that they have machines that you can wind these up in the ball that can wind them up for you, but I've just been doing it manually and they always get tangled up when I'm trying to wind it up. So I just find them really annoying to deal with. But this yarn, I think, let's see, what kind of yarn is it? Merino wool. This 100% merino wool, and this one is slightly different. It says American wool. Dyed and spun in Washington. I think, yeah, so everything is wool. I believe it's a sheep's wool, just judging by the little logo there. And it's very soft. This one's not quite as soft, but I think it's because it's like 2 strings wound together. I originally wanted to just get all multicolored yarn, but because this one was $32 and I didn't want to buy like 5 of these or however many it would take to finish the sweater, because it's a long sweater, it would take a lot of yarn. I'll keep you updated on how this goes. Hello, so I wanted to show you my sweater. So originally, I had this panel. This is the back panel of the sweater. Okay, so like down there. And then I had two of these to be the front panel of the sweater. And it was gonna just be an open front cardigan, oversized and long. So I'm now wondering, so this is the second one of these front panels, but I paper clipped it on the side to close it up like a cylinder. And I'm wondering if I should instead make it the sleeve. Now it's a little big to actually be the sleeve. So one solution is to undo a couple inches of this ribbing and then just kind of have it be like that. But this part's still very blue, like big and oversized. And I could do like a drop sleeve and like basically make a second one of these or something, or make two more of these, because this is honestly too wide to really be the front panel the way that I want it. So I can make a second one that's not as wide, and then I could add this ribbing to go down the front panels of it like that, and connect all that together and make this a drop sleeve. And this is a drop sleeve where the seam of the shirt of the sweater falls below the shoulder line, right? And then connect it to this. So I'm wondering if I should do that. I think I want to. I think that's the solution. Good morning. It's like 4:30 on a Saturday morning. It's March 16th. And if you're wondering why I'm awake, it's because we had to drive my in-laws to the airport. And or not the airport, the bus stop that takes them to the airport. So my husband went back to sleep, but I kind of was just feeling like yes, I'm tired, but I'm not tired enough where I think I'm actually gonna fall asleep if I go back to bed. So even though I probably should try at least, what I really felt like doing, making myself a bowl of oatmeal, crocheting, and then I'm gonna watch The Golden Girls on Hulu. And when I said that to my husband, he was like, go be the little old lady that you want to be. And I was like, wow, I really told him myself there, didn't I? At 4:30 on a Saturday morning. Anyway, so that's what I'm gonna do. And then hopefully at some point I'll be able to get some sleep. And then my plans today are to go to a cafe. My plans are to go to a cafe, go to a yarn store, not because I actually need any yarn, but because there's like a yarn event going on. And so there's like discounts and events and stuff at different yarn stores in the area. So I might just go and check out this new yarn store near this cafe that I've gone to several times, but I never knew there was a yarn store there. And then I also want to go for a really long walk in the woods today with my husband and Helen the dog. So yeah, I think it's gonna hopefully be a good day.
I'm sorry, I don't seem to have you listed. Oh, well, maybe it's under the name of Hollingsworth. Around your campfire. Give us a break, would you, man?
Hello. So I finished both front panels. I still have to add the ribbing down the center and then on the bottom. I'm so tired. It's probably almost midnight. It's hard to hold these in the exact right place, but this is basically the idea. So tomorrow I have to do the upper back and then the ribbing, like I said, on the front panels, and then I have to adjust the sleeves, and then I think I can attach everything. So I'm watching Golden Girls, but pretty soon the Golden Girls are going to be watching me because I need to go to bed. Hello, I just wanted to show you something. So I've got the sweater that I'm crocheting out here in front of me, and I wanted to just show it to you because I've laid it out because I need to take a couple of measurements to do the upper back, but let me show you. So I think I need to actually back up a little bit. Okay, so this is the sweater laid out. As you can see, I have taken some, I always want to call these paper clips, safety pins here, and here on both sides, just to hold it together because the back is actually a little bit wider than the two front panels, especially when I overlap them right here. So yeah, I have to basically now crochet this upper back to connect the sleeves and the shoulders of these upper panels. Yeah, and to do the back neckline. So that's what we have here. This is my first time laying it out with this much completed. I still have to do the ribbing on the bottom here, but I actually have to get more of this thread because I was able to take some of the thread from here because this used to be a lot wider, but I took it in so it fits my wrist better. So I was able to use some of that thread to finish this upper part right here of this ribbing, but I need to get some more because this is not going to be enough to do all of this. It might be enough to do like this much of it. So I'm going to have to buy a whole nother $30-something skein of this thread, of this yarn, in order to finish that. So that might be a project for after work tomorrow. But yeah, so I'm just like, I'm so impressed with how this looks laid out. Wow. If I do say so myself. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But I still feel like I've made this whole thing in the last couple of weeks. Like this is what I've been doing instead of writing. Which I'm happy to be doing anything creative at all. Oh, and then also, I think I mentioned this already, maybe in a different clip, but this part's also safety pinned together because this was originally this front panel, but then I decided it was too wide and then I wanted to do something else with it. So now I've turned them into sleeves. I might have to make them actually a little bit longer, so they might actually sit out like this far. I don't know. Yeah, so the back panel might be a bit longer, a bit wider there. And then one other thing that I forgot I have to do also is I have to sew pockets onto the fronts of this. So I wanted to do that in this thread. So that's good that I'll have, because if I buy a whole nother skein of thread, doing the ribbing here, I'll probably have some extra. So then to do the pockets with it, that would be really good. So that's that. Wow. I'm sorry, I'm just so excited. It looks great. Hello, so we are looking at this sweater that I'm wearing. Now, I made this sweater myself back in March. I crocheted it from scratch out of like $300-something worth of yarn. It was crazy. It was like it was a hyper fixation for me when I was learning to crochet. And I did this after only crocheting for like a month or two. Anyway, so it looks really bad now because I wore it a lot and it's very heavy. From the weight of the yarn. So what happened was that the collar, if you can see here, is quite stretched out now. It didn't always used to look like this. It just stretched out a lot. And if you look up closely, you can see the holes right here. Yeah. All of this is like pulling and stretching out. Other things with the sweater is that, see how long the arms are? That's how long the arm is. And I don't mind the length of the arm, honestly. It makes it more cozy. This is so soft, by the way. It smells really bad when it gets wet. Like I had to wash this once and it smelled really bad and it took like 3 days of laying it flat to dry for it to completely dry. Basically, the entire sweater is double crochet stitches with like, I think 6 different colors of yarn. And then you have the ribbing here, which goes all the way around. That all is another kind of yarn, which is a different texture of yarn to this. It's a bit rougher, but it's also a multicolored yarn. So yeah, what else can I tell you about this sweater? So I basically started this sweater. It was, the back is all one piece, one giant rectangle of fabric. And then I attached that later on to, the arms were also two rectangles of fabric. The arms were originally going to be the front panels, but then I decided to do the front panels differently, and so I made these the arms. But as a result of that, there was a lot of excess fabric in the arm. Like basically, like if you take a piece of paper and fold it into like a tunnel shape, you know, some of the paper goes inside and there's just like a bunch of loose paper on the inside. That's what's happening with both of the sleeves. So there's a lot of excess yarn, which is not that big of a deal to me, except that this yarn is expensive and I hate to have it wasted in there. Another thing is that whenever I was wearing this, anytime I used the bathroom and wanted to wash my hands, I don't want to get the sweater wet if I don't have to, so I was trying to roll my sleeves up to wash my hands at the sink, and it's very difficult to do that because there's not any elasticity in the wrist. Again, with the sweater being so heavy and this being a V-neck, I think because the V-neck means there's less material here to hold and support the sweater from the top, so I would like to redo the front panels to have them just come straight across. And yeah, I think that's basically, oh, and then this button at the bottom. If you can see, the buttons are all like sort of translucent colors, like blue, right? Yeah, blue, dark blue, pink, and everything. And then this last one is just like stark white. It's not translucent. It doesn't look right with the other buttons. So I'd like to replace that with either, if I can find a purple button that's like this, or even just start over again with the pink button and put that at the bottom. Also, it's pills. It has pilled a lot. I don't know if you can see all of the pilling. Yeah, see all of that? All these clumps of like yarn sticking off. I'm not really sure what to do about that. Like, I could manually remove it. I don't want to just be pulling because I will be pulling out the pills all day. But so maybe I should get one of those electronic things, electric depillers, or, I mean, that part doesn't bother me as much, but I wish it didn't do that. That's basically all of the issues with this sweater that I am planning on fixing. So the way that I'm planning on fixing it is I'm going to unravel this ribbing all the way around the collar and the front, whatever this is called. I'm going to unravel that. Or maybe at least unravel it down to this point, like right where the sweater starts tapering in. That's where I'm going to stop. And that goes for the front panels as well. Oh, the other thing is that when I made this, I didn't make the front panel wide enough, so I had to crochet a narrow strip to go underneath here and here. But that's like some more or less symmetrical on each side, so I don't really care about that. But yeah, I'm going to unravel this front panel down to about right here and then just start doing the crochet straight. But to do that, I need extra yarn, and I don't want to buy 6 new things of yarn. I think I'm going to leave the bottom ribbing in place. I don't think I need to mess with that. I think it's fine. And it's not in the way of anything. And then the other thing I think I have to do is unravel the arms. I don't know if I'm going to unravel it entirely or if I can just unravel. It's really like this bottom half of the arm where the excess fabric is, so maybe I just unravel about half of it. And then maybe I'll get just enough fabric from that to make this no longer a V-neck. So that's the plan. That's the project. And yeah, I love this sweater so much. It took me like 3 weeks to make it. And I really enjoy wearing it. It's super warm, super soft. And I mainly wear it in the house, although when I first made it, I did wear it out a lot. And I always got compliments, and every time someone was like, "Ooh, I love your sweater," I'm like, "Thanks, I made it." You know, like I just was boldly and proudly proclaiming that, because this was a lot of work. Good morning. So last night I was busy unraveling my sweater, so I'll show you what I've done. one more thing that I wanted to do last night, but I thought I should sleep on it because it's kind of a bigger decision, is removing these side panels. Originally I added these to because when I did this part, it wasn't as wide. It wasn't wide enough to meet the back. So I added these side panels, which I don't mind. However, I need some extra yarn to make this no longer a V-neck. You remember I was telling you that there was extra fabric tucked inside the sleeve? That's what this was. It was this much. This fold here was inside the sleeve, like that. But I actually kind of like the idea of leaving the sleeves at this width all the way down so that the wrist is a lot wider, because that would accommodate that issue I had where there was no movement in the wrist because it was too tight. Like if I wanted to wash my hands and roll up my sleeves, I couldn't do that before. And then what I'll do is if I remove this panel, then I will connect the back panel directly to the vest. I want to do a shoulder panel and do it instead of in double crochet, which is a very open stitch, you can see, do it in single crochet, which is a lot denser. And I think that might offer more support on the shoulders to keep them from stretching out from the weight of the sweater. So that's my plan, I think, and I'm gonna keep going now. So all I have to say is thank you, Past Sydney, for making this a modular sweater, because that means that if there's ever a point where I have to fix just one part of it, I don't have to completely unravel everything I've done. All I've done so far is separate the pieces, and I've unraveled the ribbing that was down here. So the only ribbing that's still here is this, because that's the only piece that I think is going to stay as it is. These I am actually going to completely unravel and use the yarn to make this no longer a V-neck, if you can, just picture that. Pretend all this yarn is like knitted together and it's basically one big rectangle, and then the ribbing will continue up the side with the buttons on both pieces. This will be attached to this, and then in order to make the armhole, I'm going to probably unravel, I'm going to unravel all of this basically. And then when I start sewing it, I'm going to probably start sewing, or not sewing it. When I start crocheting it, I'm going to start crocheting it a few inches inward, maybe around here. I don't know. I have to see. Yeah, so that's all the pieces. All the balls of yarn that I got from the ribbing. A button that I had to unravel in the ribbing. So I thought I'd show you the finished sweater. Okay, don't mind me, I've just got a hair mask in. But I thought I'd give you a few statistics about the final product, the final sweater that I made. So as you saw in the beginning, I had 6 different colors of yarn, but the final product is mainly just small strips of these colors, with the exception of the arms, which are just like bigger blocks of color. And the way that I did that was that I cut about 1,000,000 pieces of string in varying lengths, and I tied them all together using the magic knot. So that was the most tedious part of this whole sweater, was just making 1,000,000 magic knots, which is great because it hides the knot so it's not as obvious, and it also secures all the strings together so I didn't have a bunch of loose ends to weave in at the end. I mostly used the double crochet stitch throughout, with the exception of the ribbing, which was single crochet front back loop only, and also I did ribbing along the collar as well. I removed the ribbing from the end of the sleeves, as I discussed earlier in the video, and also the shoulder panels. I did those in single crochet just to give it a bit more structure and support for the weight of the sweater. You'll notice, or you might notice, that the sweater is not as long as it used to be. It used to cover my butt. No, it doesn't. It just sort of sits at the top of my thigh, I guess. And that was good because it meant that there was less weight for the sweater to have to support. So I ended up having a lot more yarn left over once I repaired the sweater than the first time that I made the sweater. So this is the leftover yarn that I had. Is basically a normal size ball of yarn for the 6 skeins, and then a smaller ball of yarn for the ribbing yarn that I used, and I started making this giant granny square with it because I didn't know what else to make with it, and I'm not super attached to this, so I might just end up unraveling it and making something else, but I don't know what to make because I don't want to make like I probably have enough yarn to make like a hat or something, or maybe a pair of socks. I don't know. I've never made socks before, but I don't really want a hat or socks or anything like that. So I just this yarn is so beautiful. I don't want to waste it. I'm in no rush to finish using it, so at some point I'll figure out what to make with this. But just wanted to show you how much I had left. And kind of going off of that as well. I can't remember if I bought each of the 6 skeins of yarn twice or 3 times, but I do know that I bought 3 of these. Actually, I think I only bought it twice because I remember going to the yarn store and only buying this one. This is the Spincycle yarn, and all of the solid color yarns are all Malabrigo brand. And if I can figure out the names of the colors, I will list them below. But yeah, so in total, I think I spent either $260 or $348, and that depends entirely on whether I bought each of the skeins of yarn 2 times or 3 times. If it is 2 times, then I spent $260 because each of these colors was $14. And then this yarn I think is $32. Not cheap. I didn't buy all that yarn at once. I bought it as I needed it, which is how I would recommend doing it, just so you don't end up buying way more than you need. I think in total of all the yarn that I bought, like you saw what I had left over. I think I used maybe 70 or 80% of the yarn that I bought. Probably didn't need to buy 3 of these, but the first time I made the sweater, I did have a lot. I did use a lot of this yarn. And one of the ways I was able to save on yarn was by making this ribbing not as long as it used to be. I also replaced the bottom button with a pink button. In the original sweater, this was white. This was a white button, and I didn't like the way it looked. This yarn pills a lot. There's excessive pilling of the yarn. Can you see how much yarn that is? That's just like how much lint is kind of sitting there on top. I don't really mind that because I'm not really someone who really cares about pilling that much in general. I know for some people that might be an issue, but one benefit I'll say of the pilling is that because this is a double crochet stitch all the way throughout the sweater, that the double crochet stitch is quite an open weave, so it would let a lot of air through. But one thing the pilling has done is that it's kind of filled in some of those gaps from the double crochet. So it's instead of this being like a very open weave sweater, it's quite solid, it feels like, which helps to maintain warmth on top of the fact that this yarn is already wool yarn. So I would say that's a benefit. I don't tend to get too hot while wearing this. The main issue with the pilling was that when it came to unraveling the sweater, particularly the back panel, it made it really tricky to unravel because with the extra lint sort of clumping on to the different yarn fibers, pulling it out, the yarn was very stubborn. And it also made a lot of lint kind of, it felt like there was like a cloud of lint in the air around me as I was unraveling it. So that was not great for my allergies. But once I finished unraveling it, like it took forever to unravel it. So once I finished that, it was fine. But it was just like I felt like I wanted to wear a mask and have my air purifier running while I was unraveling because it was so much lint, it felt like. But yeah, this is my sweater. It's full of imperfections, and I'm sure at some point I'll have to do more repairs on it. But I was looking here at the upper back panel, and you can see this yarn is sort of stretched out, and it's just a small part of it. It still appears all around here is fine, but I'm wondering if at some point I'm going to have to redo that part. But I will cross that bridge if we ever come to it. But that's all that I have to say about this sweater. If you have any questions about it, let me know. I'll be happy to answer. I'm by no means an expert crocheter, and no, I did not follow a pattern. I just made it up as I went, which is really more my style. I tend to like trying to find my own way. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this vlog. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one.